Hi, Jack here, and I've been on testosterone for about 8 months, so this is my 8-month update. Although the major changes are largely settled, there are still things going on, both physically and socially, and I'll talk about those as well as an introduction to my weight loss scheme, so to speak. Anyway, physically, the big changes right now are hair-based. On my face, right now, for example, I grow hair on my chin, which you saw in my last couple of videos, and it includes the double chin. So this area down here gets as much hair as up here, and I'll show you if I can get up there. It's stubbly right now because it grows hair very fast there, but I shave it off because I don't like it. I also shave the rest of my face. I do get a little bit of hair the rest of here, but it doesn't really show up at a distance, and so I prefer it gone. I don't shave this off because it finally connected in the middle. If you remember, like it wouldn't connect in the middle for the longest time, and now it does, so I'm happy with that. I noticed today, and I mean I've sort of noticed this before, but today it really stuck out like a sore thumb, that I'm starting to get furry on my forearms. And it's still not thick enough to really show up on camera, but it is thick enough where I can put my arm next to another guy's arm and not feel as though my arms are particularly not hairy enough. I don't know what word to use to describe it, but there's more hair on my forearms, and there's hair everywhere. I mean, I have always been relatively hairy for a natal female, but it is ridiculous now. Anyway, in health news, my blood pressure is down, due to weight loss, which I'm going to go into later and probably in a different video as well. But I was diagnosed with secondary polycythemia, which I talked about in a different video, the one where I talk about going to the blood bank. Polycythemia is when your red blood cell count is too high, and the cure is good old-fashioned bloodletting, which usually involves donating blood. Anyway, so I don't think my voice has changed in a while, but I don't notice. I still feel like I sound like I did pre-T, which is bizarre. Everyone's like, fuck no, and I know that when I listen to my older videos, but I live with my voice, and so I don't notice that much. I did note that I consistently get read as male over the phone now. Like, I get sirred a lot, so to speak. But anyway, the social changes are more interesting to me. I'm stealth most of the time now, meaning that people who didn't meet me before I got on T do not know that I'm transsexual, or at least I don't think that they know. That includes most of my current workmates, most of my current classmates, and some of my teachers. It also includes my current gay-straight alliance, which just started yesterday. And I decided a while ago that I was not going to disclose that I'm transsexual because I want the experience of being interacted with as a queer man without bringing people's assumptions about trans men into it, at least at first. And I have a lot of very thoroughly thought out reasons for that, but this is the main one. Throughout my transition, people have had a lot of unintentional but very backhanded ways of dealing with me, and it's especially so when they don't have a very good understanding of transsexualism. In other words, people tend to define you as your birth sex when they know that first, when it's one of the first things they know about you. And early in transition, this led to things like having to argue with people who were defining me as straight when I identified as gay, and other similar things. And people really did not understand that somebody could be born biologically female and define themselves based on a male gender identity. And I just don't want to have to deal with that at first. I want to be able to interact with people without them making that assumption. And so I'm just not going to say anything. And, I mean, I used to talk about what I called earning the gay label. I had to earn being called gay by the gay men in my community. And even though I'm bisexual now, I just can't risk being painted as a queer woman when I'm a queer man. It would be just terrible for my dysphoria, and so I choose not to do that. Now that doesn't mean that I don't make myself available to trans men when necessary, and I will come out when I need to, but my ability to sufficiently mentor young trans men is kind of dwindling because testosterone has changed so much of how I look at certain things, and that's probably a subject for a different time. But anyway, being stealth has made me care less about my behavior, and that's something that I kind of like. I have some pretty feminine behaviors, like I'm kind of limp-wristed and so forth, and the way that I talk is still relatively feminine. I really haven't been doing a good job of getting rid of a lot of my feminine vocal tendencies, and I just stopped caring because people don't read me as female anymore. Those behaviors really concerned me when they caused people to read me as a butch lesbian, but now people just sort of read me as a stereotypically gay man in many ways, which is fine. I'd rather people be mistaken about my sexual orientation and read me as male than for them to read me as female. And also, interestingly, I identify as masculine. I don't identify as feminine or femme. I just have a different kind of masculinity than other people, and people don't understand that either, but that is of no concern to me because they are reading me as male. That is the important part. And I have some other places where I can't not be out. My alma mater, for example, calls me back sometimes to talk about transgender and transmasculine issues on campus, and I have a lot of friends there who know anyway there's no way that I'm going back in the closet. They already know the cat's out of the bag. And there's a transgender group there that I'm still involved in, although we haven't met in a while, and so they're no problem. I'm also active in the online community. I'm active in a couple of Facebook communities, as well as occasionally I still go to TQ Nation, not as much as I used to, but I still go there. So yeah, I have no problem coming out when I think it's necessary or when the subject really comes up. It's happened at work. I've come out at work when the subject has come up. But anyway, socially things are going very well. And finally, a physical thing. If you're only worried about the trans stuff, you can stop watching now, and that's fine. But I might talk more about dietary and weight loss things. But yeah, it's a physical thing. It is somewhat transition related because it's a part of my dysphoria, so to speak. I've lost a little weight, or rather, I lost a lot of weight, and I'm trying to break over a stall that I had. Right now I weigh about 217 pounds, which, when I stalled, I was at about 225, and that's down from a peak of 269 pounds, which, holy shit, it stuns me that I was ever that heavy. And I got that fat on a vegan diet, which is hilarious. But yeah, the weight loss is going well, and the way that I'm doing this is by going the opposite direction. I'm actually on a Paleolithic diet now. For a while I'm going to be strict paleo, almost, with the exception of butter. And then after a while I'm going to go lacto-paleo, which is a paleo diet with added dairy. And I also practice what's called a 20-to-4 fast, which means for 20 hours in every 24-hour day, I don't eat anything. And then for 4 hours, I eat as much as I care to. And the reason that I do that is because it's not because it makes my weight crash hard, because it really doesn't. I've been losing weight at a pretty steady, normal rate. It's that eating multiple times in a day tends to make me feel really sick by the end of the day. And it's so hard for people to, like, really... Because I eat a lot when I eat throughout the day. And I will stuff myself. And it's ridiculous. Especially when I eat non-paleo foods. It's really bad. That's how come I gained so much weight on a vegan diet. I could not stop eating because I was eating all this stuff that makes me eat more and makes me feel sick. And when I feel sick, I want to eat more. Anyway, so doing it this way, I don't feel ill by the time I go to bed. It's really nice, and if I really get hungry, I just eat some jerky or something. Generally, eating tends to be more of a burden than a convenience, though, so it's been working really good. But anyway, the gist of the paleo diet, and I'm going to go into this more in detail in a different video. What you eat is meat, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and fat from animals and fruit. And again, I'll talk more about this later. I'm just giving you the Reader's Digest version. The main point is that you avoid sweets, grains, all grains, including like oatmeal and corn and rice. You avoid beans and legumes, including peanuts, and you avoid vegetable oils and processed foods of all kinds. And the main idea is that you're eating foods that your body is designed to deal with. The stuff that we eat today as a general population, our body is not designed to use properly, and so we gain weight, we feel sick, we get all sorts of illnesses of civilization, and yeah, these sort of things happen. We see them all the time. But yeah, I'm going to do a different video on that, going into more specific things, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I personally think it's a great diet for F to Ms, especially overweight F to Ms, to get into. And in my experience, people tend to be more likely in the F to M spectrum to go vegan than they are paleo, speaking from experience, having been a vegan for 3 years. And again, remember I said like 2 minutes ago that it destroyed my health being vegan, and not that it's necessarily going to be bad for you as a specific person, but I'd like to be able to help people who are in the same position I was in, and so that's why I'm going to do that. But anyway, for now, this is going to be it. Happy trails. I will see you next time when I talk about whatever it is I'm going to talk about.